In this video, I will be putting in the chapters in order to resemble that of a typical device chain that can be found when mastering. So I'll begin with equalization. The purpose of EQing during the mastering stage is not truly the same as when mixing. During your mixdown process, you might have used EQ so that the track sits just right in the mix without masking another track that shares the same frequency range. Or perhaps you used EQ in a creative way for sound design. When mastering, however, EQ is generally used to balance the entire frequency curve. A balanced frequency curve will be easier on the listener and reduce any ear fatigue. Before we begin to look at tonal balancing, I stress that one tool that is a must-have is a good frequency analyzer. This will allow you to visually pinpoint the troubled areas before any equalization is applied, plus allowing you to see the effects of any changes. There are a number of freeware analyzers available, as well as a number of low-cost ones that can give you a bit more detailed information. Few that I will often use is Voxino's Span and Blue Cat Audio's Frequency Analyst Pro. Put your frequency analyzer at the very end of your device chain. Keep your eye on it when making any changes to your EQ. Another tip would be to use an EQ plugin that offers a spectrum analyzer right in the EQ, such as shown here with Isotope's Ozone. This makes it easy for you to quickly see the areas that need tweaking. Okay, so now that we have some sort of analyzer in place, let's do a little EQing. As I mentioned, EQing in the mastering stage is to balance the tonal character of your audio. And what I mean by that is so one certain frequency range does not stand out any more than the others. If you are to take a look at a commercially released CD through an analyzer, you'll see that the curve consists of a fairly straight line with a slight decline in slope. There is not one frequency range that is sticking out like a sore thumb. This is what you are trying to achieve. Now, depending on your choice of analyzer, I suggest that you have the speed or ballistics set to slow or average. The reason behind this is that if the analyzer is working in real time, there will be passages in your audio where some frequencies are higher than others, and this is fine. But when you average out all the frequencies through the length of the audio source, this is when there should be no offending frequency ranges. So whenever possible, try to use a slow setting on your frequency analyzer. Start by playing your song from start to finish. Let the analyzer do its thing. Once the song is complete, you can see the areas, if any, that need correcting. Using your favorite EQ, apply any frequency gains or reductions as needed. A tip before we go any further: if you find that your audio has a large number of required alterations, or if you're applying a large amount of gain or reductions to a particular range, then you might want to go back and fix these areas in your mix. There are a large number of EQ plugins out there, and many that are included with your audio application. Which one is right for you is dependent on how much you want to spend, or even more important, how you want the EQ to sound. There are some EQs that are modeled from classic analog devices, while others will have a cleaner digital sound. This is a personal preference. One thing to point out, however, is the band type. Typically, you'll want to use a parametric EQ, which allows you to alter any offending frequencies, plus control the frequencies around it. Some EQs will only offer 4 bands, some 6 or more. How many bands you need are really dependent on the audio source, but 6 is usually a good number. Now there is one standalone application worth mentioning here, Har-Bal. This application is unique in that it offers an audio analyzer plus EQ in one. However, the difference is that the EQ is not your traditional EQ where you would alter one or more of the available bands to correct any problems. Instead, Har-Bal allows you to redraw the entire analyzed curve to create a filter. This gives you far more accuracy than any EQ plugin. The application is a standalone, so you'll have to open your audio file, EQ it, then save it and continue working in your favorite host. But the results are well worth it. Once you have your frequency curve well balanced, the last thing you'll want to do with your EQ is to apply a low and high shelving filter. The low shelving filter will remove any of the extreme lows that cause your mix to sound muddy. This is also important when it comes time to maximizing the loudness. These very low frequencies will take up a lot of power, which will affect the amount of perceived loudness you can achieve. Also apply a high shelving filter to the higher end frequencies to remove any of the harshness that you may find in your audio. Okay, so by now you should have a perfectly balanced frequency curve to work with. The next step would be to apply some compression as needed, which we'll take a look at in the next chapter.